Hi friends, in this video we are going to discuss about trade distorting agricultural subsidies and the general classification of agricultural subsidies by the World Trade Organization or the WTO. This short lecture is would be very helpful for the GS mains paper 3 under agriculture. It would be useful for GS paper 2 also. My kind advice to all UPSC aspirants is that for all the subjects, whatever you study, please focus on conceptual knowledge. Don't just memorize things. The tendency among many candidates today is that if I memorize many things, if I memorize lots of facts and figures, I will pass this examination. Unfortunately, this examination does not work in this manner. For this examination, conceptual knowledge, in-depth understanding is most important. Over this conceptual knowledge, in-depth understanding, you should memorize many things, but definitely conceptual knowledge is what matters for this examination. Now let's come back to agricultural subsidies. We all know about agricultural subsidies. Most countries give subsidies to their farmers. India also gives subsidies to farmers. So subsidies are nothing but the incentives given to farmers to increase the production in agriculture and also to reduce the burden of cost for the farmers. Now, WTO, as we all know, is the World Trade Organization that is responsible for regulating international trade and ensuring that international trade is balanced and is not discriminatory. Now, WTO handles the issue of agricultural subsidies also. WTO calls certain subsidies as distorting in nature. Distorting means something that affects, something that damages. So that's called distorting. Certain agricultural subsidies are termed distorting in nature by WTO. For example, certain Western countries like France, USA, these countries, they provide excess subsidies to their farmers. As a result, what happens is that the agricultural produce, that is output of agriculture, gets exported from these countries and gets flooded or dumped in other countries, mainly the developing countries. Now what happens is that the domestic farmers in these countries, they get affected. This is one of the main problems. So such subsidies given by countries, they are trade distorting in nature, which means that it affects the overall international trade in agriculture. Now let's assume, what if all countries compete with each other and gives more subsidies to all their farmers? What will happen? The excess agricultural produce will be exported and they will get dumped in the other countries. That will affect the farmers of the home countries. So that is why WTO terms certain subsidies as distorting in nature. Now, to find out which subsidy is distorting and which subsidy is not, WTO has classified subsidies, that is agricultural subsidies, into three main categories. 1. Amber box subsidy. 2. Green box subsidy. 3. Blue box subsidy. Amber box subsidy, this is the main subsidies. Amber box subsidies are given by countries to their farmers to increase the agricultural production. Amber box subsidies is the main cause of this distorting trade. This is the main culprit, because this form of subsidy that is given to increase production actually gets exported from the country, from the home country, and gets dumped in other countries. So this actually distorts international trade. So mainly the amber box subsidy, it causes the main problem as far as WTO is concerned. That is why WTO always keeps a watch on all countries. It ensures that the countries does not provide undue additional subsidies to farmers to overproduce. So this is the amber box subsidy. So simply remember, amber box is a subsidy given by the home country to the farmers to produce more products from agriculture. Second is blue box subsidy. Blue box subsidy is given by some countries to limit the agricultural production. Now you may wonder, why should a country limit agricultural production? The logic behind is that if the country overproduces, once again the problem will arise with WTO. WTO will term such subsidies as trade distorting in nature. So in certain cases it has to limit the production also. So in such cases these countries, they provide subsidies to farmers to compensate for the loss in revenue. So this subsidy is given to limit the production. So farmers will get this subsidy as compensation for reducing the production. This is the blue box subsidy. Third is the green box subsidy. Green box subsidies are subsidies that are directly given to farmers. Mainly these subsidies are given to increase the infrastructure in agriculture, for scientific research in agriculture, for developing new varieties of seeds and crops in agriculture. So basically this type of subsidy is a subsidy given to develop the foundation of agriculture or to develop the fundamentals of agriculture. This subsidy is seen as justified by WTO. So we can say that green box subsidy is somewhat accepted. In fact, it is accepted by WTO. Now let's come to India, our country. As we all know, India provides heavy food subsidy to consumers. This goes as a part to farmers in the form of MSP. It goes to Food Corporation of India. It is given to consumers also in the form of the public distribution system. So each year India spends lakhs of crores for food subsidy. Now WTO is viewing this food subsidy, especially the subsidy component given to farmers, as an amber box subsidy, which means that WTO is feeling that India is providing subsidy to farmers to produce more. It fears that this overproduced crops or produced from agriculture may be exported by India and it may get dumped in other countries. As a result, this may distort international trade in agriculture. This is what WTO feels. But if you look at the actual situation, the food subsidy in India is given because in India there are crores of people who are poor. They are living below the poverty line. So India has a social obligation to ensure food security for these people. So food security is a very important component in India. So this is not a luxury in India. This food subsidy is a basic necessity that is provided by the state, that is the government. So this is actually justified in a country like India. But unfortunately, WTO sees this subsidy as distorting. In fact, WTO sees our public distribution system, which is the distribution of subsidized food grains through the ration shop itself, as trade distorting in nature. So WTO is going to the extent of demanding India to dismantle the public distribution system itself. Is it right? Absolutely not, because we have to feed crores of people who are poor, who are living in hunger. So definitely we can't dismantle the public distribution system. So that is why India, along with other developing countries such as Brazil, China, they are arguing with WTO to exempt the subsidies provided for agriculture, because we are all developing countries. The subsidies given to farmers are actually justified. Our farmers, they are very poor. They need income. The government has to take off the burden of the farmers. That is why the government is giving subsidy to them. Apart from that, food security is also a main reason. That is why India, China, along with other developing countries, we have formed a common platform called as G33 way back in the year 2013 to bargain at WTO. In fact, presently the main challenge for India is to get our food subsidy, mainly the subsidy component for farmers, classified under the green box subsidies. This is what you should understand. What I earlier told, green box subsidies is justified and green box subsidies are actually accepted by WTO. So WTO is actually accepting green box subsidies because these are given for reasons that are justified. For example, these are given for food security, for developing agriculture infrastructure, for research and development in agriculture. So since India's subsidy is mainly given for food security, this is justified in nature. That is why we are fighting at WTO to get our farm subsidies classified under the green box subsidy. So in future, let's all hope that our farm subsidies, the subsidies given to our farmers, gets classified under the green box subsidies. I hope this video is helpful to all of you. Thank you.